Hello students, welcome to class 12th. I am here with the very first chapter of the book Flamingo. The name of the chapter is The Last Lesson, which has been written by Alphonse Daudet. I want to convey a message to you all that there is no need to be depressed, there is no need to feel very much constrained. Do your work which is being given by your teachers, and follow the instructions given by your parents and elders as well as the government. This is the time to stop and to stand and wait for the right time to come, as John Milton has said in his poem on his blindness, that they also serve who only stand and wait. So we will wait for the right time to come. The time will definitely change. Don't feel depressed. Keep working. Stay healthy. Stay safe. Okay. Now let's begin with the chapter. The Last Lesson by Alphonse Daudet, 1840 to 1897. It was his lifespan. He was a French novelist and a short story writer. The Last Lesson is set in the days of Franco-Persian War, which took place in the years 1870 and 71. In this war, France was defeated by Persia, led by Bismarck. Persia then consisted of what now are the nations of Germany, Poland, and parts of Austria. In this story, the French districts of Alsace and Lorraine have passed into Persian hands. Read the story to find out what effect this had on life of the school. So now this is about the author and a little about the chapter. We have already come to know that this lesson is set in the days of Franco-Persian War, which had taken place in the year 1870 and 71, and France was defeated by Persian army. Okay, and at that time, two districts of France, which are Alsace and Lorraine, were captured by the Germans, and how they ruled these districts have been given here. I would like to talk about the theme of this chapter. The theme is the pain that is inflicted on the people of a territory by its conquerors by taking the right to study or speak their own language. In other words, this chapter is also about linguistic chauvinism. Linguistic, something related to language, and chauvinism means to give importance to oneself and disregard others. Linguistic chauvinism means to give regard to one's own language and disregard the language of others, and it happens in this chapter in the districts of Alsace and Lorraine, where German language will be taught to the students, and the people of the country will be deprived of learning their own language, that is French language. Okay, so the theme is linguistic chauvinism. It also tells us about the importance of one's language. What is the importance of one's language in his or her life has been given in this chapter. And the sub-theme of the chapter is student and teacher's attitude to learning and teaching. Okay, so we will try to know about all the details about the appropriateness of the title as well as the themes in the story. Okay. The title is The Last Lesson. Exactly, this title is appropriate because you will see that a French teacher is going to deliver the last lesson in his own language, that is French, in one of the schools in France. Okay, so now let's begin with the chapter. You may open your books, and then it will be easy for you to understand. You have to attend to my voice if the video is not clear. Now let's start. The narrator here is Franz, F-R-A-N-Z. Franz is a school-going boy, and he is narrating the story. Let's begin. Franz says, I started for school very late that morning and was in great dread of a scolding, especially because Mr. Hamel had said that he would question us on participles. And I did not know the first word about them. For a moment, I thought of running away and spending the day out of the doors. It was so warm, so bright, the birds were chirping at the edge of the woods and the open field back of the sawmill. The Persian soldiers were drilling. It was all much more tempting than the rule for participles. But I had the strength to resist and hurried off to school. So the narrator, a student named Franz, he says that on that very morning I started late for my school and I was very much afraid of the scolding from my teacher, Mr. Hamel, Mr. M. Hamel. He would scold him because he had given him a homework to prepare the lesson on the participles, but he didn't know anything about participles. That is why he just wanted to bunk the school. And he says that for a moment it came to his mind that I should run away and spend the day out of doors and not to go to the school, because it was so warm outside, it was so bright, birds were chirping at the edge of by the side of the woods, and in the open fields he saw Persian armies. They were army soldiers were drilling, and these things were much more tempting for him than the rules for participles. In other words, than to go to the school. These things were attracting him to stay outside the school, and it was all much more tempting. But I had the strength, but he says, I had the strength to resist. Means these things could not resist, these things could not attract him, and he hurried off to the school. He started going towards the school. Now what happened? When I passed the town hall, there was a crowd in front of the bulletin board. For the last 2 years, all our bad news had come from there. The lost battles, the draft, the orders of the commanding officer, and I thought to myself without stopping, what can be the matter now? Now, when he was going to the school, he was passing through the town hall. He saw that the crowd was gathered in front of the bulletin board. Bulletin board from where the news are issued. And he says that from last 2 years, all the bad news were pasted there about the lost battles, about any draft or the orders of the commanding officer. They were shown there, and he thought to himself, without stopping, he kept on going to the school, and he thought to himself, what can be the matter now? Means what would be the news now? Means what would be the news today? He didn't know, but he thought that there might be something important here on the bulletin board today too. Then, as I hurried by as fast as I could go, the blacksmith Water, who was there with his apprentice reading the bulletin, called after me, don't go so fast, bub. You will get to your school in plenty of time. Then he was going as fast as he could go, and one of the persons who was there, blacksmith, his name is given Wachter, he called him from behind and said, hey, there is nothing to be so late. There is a lot of time. Actually, these words are ironical words. He didn't mean what he said. Means he was already late, but he says, don't go so fast. You will get to your school in plenty of time. Okay. Anyways, I thought he was making fun of me. Exactly, he was making fun of him, and reached M. Hamel's little garden all out of breath. Finally, he reached the school. Usually, when school began, there was a great bustle which could be heard out in the street. The opening and closing of desk, lessons repeated in unison, very loud with our hands over our ears to understand better, and the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. But now it was all so still. He says that when I reached there, usually what used to happen, there used to be a great noise inside the classes, inside the school, and it could be heard out in the street. What was the noise of? It was of opening and closing of desks and lessons being repeated by the students in unison. Together they used to repeat the lessons very loud with their hands on their ears to understand better. And teachers' great ruler rapping on the table could also be heard outside in the street. But that day, that morning, it was all so still. Nothing was there. There was no noise. I had counted on the commotion to get to my desk without being seen. But of course, that day Everything had to be as quiet as Sunday morning. I just wanted to, actually, I had thought that I will take the benefit of the noise and I will secretly enter the class and take my seat. But I could not do so because on that very day, the class, the school was as quiet as Sunday morning, as if there is holiday. Through the window, I saw my classmates already in their places, and M. Hamel walking up and down with his terrible iron ruler under his arm. I had to open the door and go in before everybody. You can imagine how blushed and how frightened I was. So now I had to enter the class before anybody else. Means I was going to be watched by everyone, and I saw, when I reached the class, I saw my classmates. They were already in their seats, and M. Hamel was walking up and down in the taking his terrible iron ruler under his arm. And I had to open the door, go in before everybody, and you can imagine how blushed I was. Means I was so much hesitating to enter the class. I was so late that day, but nothing happened. But the important thing is, but nothing happened. M. Hamel saw me and said very kindly, "Go to your place quickly, little Franz. We were beginning without you." Mr. Hamel didn't scold me. He was waiting for me. He said to take seat, go to your place quickly, and I am going to begin my lesson as I had been waiting for you. And this Franz says, I jumped over the bench and sat down at my desk. Not till then, when I had got a little over my fright, did I see that our teacher had on his beautiful green coat. I jumped over the bench and took my seat, and till then I hadn't seen my teacher. When I controlled my fear a little, then I looked at my teacher and I saw that he was wearing a beautiful green coat. His frilled, this is the picture of Franz, who is already late for the school. Shirt, his frilled shirt and the little black silk cap, all embroidered, that he never wore except on inspection and prize days. Means on that very day he was wearing a new dress, he was wearing coat, and he was wearing a frilled shirt, as well as he was wearing black silk cap which was all embroidered, and he used to wear this dress only on the inspection days and on the prize days. Besides, the whole school seemed so strange and solemn, means serious. Everything was silent, strange, serious, all were silent. But the strange thing that surprised me most was to see on the back benches that were always empty, the village people sitting quietly like ourselves. The school had been as quiet as Sunday morning. The teacher was wearing new dress which he used to wear on special days. These things were surprising for him, but he says the most surprising thing was that on the last benches which used to remain empty were occupied by the village people that day. It was very strange for him. Who were those people? They were old Hauser with his three-corner hat. He was wearing a three-corner hat, Hauser. The former mayor, former postmaster, and several others besides. Everybody looked sad, and Hauser had brought an old primer thumbed at the edges. Old Hauser had come with a book. Primer is a very small book which is meant for the learning of young students in class first or second. Okay, or in the classes of nursery. That is primer. He had come with the old primer and he was catching it with his thumbs by the sides, and he held it open. He had opened his book on his knees with his great spectacles lying across the pages, as if he was trying to learn something from the book. While I was wondering all about it all, M. Hamel mounted his chair in the same grave and gentle tone which he had used to me. said, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. The order has come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Walses and Lorraine. The new master comes tomorrow. This is your last French lesson. I want you to be attentive." So I was very much surprised after seeing all this, and at that very moment Mr. M. Hamel, he mounted his chair. When he stood up and in the very serious tone, very gentle tone, he said, as he had said to me, he said, "My children, this is the last lesson I am going to give you today. We have received the orders from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine, and the new teacher will be arriving tomorrow. And this is your last French lesson. I want you to be very attentive." So this is the title of the story, The Last Lesson. So here M. Hamel is going to teach them for the last time. Okay, I think this is enough for today. I will come with the second part of this chapter very soon. Till then, you read the story, and to understand what has been given here, if you find any problem, please make a call to me. This is your teacher, Mr. Narinder Kumar, PGT English, Kendriya Vidyalaya, Naleti. Please be safe and keep others safe. Stay healthy, keep studying, and stay in touch. Good luck. Have a good day.